Today we'll be making Enchanting Amethyst. To make this bracelet, you're going to be using 6-pound Fireline smoke. We're using a dark colored thread because we have dark colored beads, a size 13 needle, and you're going to have a color A Super Duo and a color B Super Duo. And you'll be using a pattern of 3 of color A and then 3 of color B. You'll pick up 5 Super Duos and 5 11-0 seed beads in an alternating pattern. And I started with the color A. You're going to bring this down until you have a 12-inch tail, and you're going to form a circle by tying a double knot. Now you're going to reinforce by sewing back through all your beads. And after you get completely around, you're going to sew past your knot. And you'll sew through the next Super Duo. And then you'll kind of bend your beads forward so they make a cone. And you'll sew through the second hole of that Super Duo. Then you'll pick up an 11-0 seed bead, and you'll place an 11-0 seed bead between each Super Duo, sewing through that second hole. You're going to go all the way around, picking up an 11-0 seed bead, sewing through the second hole of your Super Duo. And this is your last 11-0. Sew through the second hole. Now you'll gently pull your thread and your Super Duos are standing up now. And you'll sew through your next 11-0 and Super Duo and the next 11-0. Now you're ready to pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. And then you're going to sew back through the 11-0 that you came out of, going in the same direction. Now you'll sew through your super duo and through the next 11-0. Then you'll pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and you'll sew back through the 11-0 seed bead you came out of, going in the same direction. Then you'll sew through the next super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. Picking up 3 11-0 seed beads. Sew through the 11-0 that you came out of, going in the same direction. And you're just going to repeat this all the way around the circle. Sew through the next super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. Pick up 3 11-0 seed beads. Sew through the same 11-0 seed bead you came out of, going in the same direction. Then you'll sew through the next super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. Picking up 3 11-0 seed beads, sewing through the 11-0 you came out of, going in the same direction. Now this is how it looks from the side view. And what you'll need to do is you'll come up through 2 of your seed beads. And you're going to work yourself up to the top bead, the top 11-0 seed bead. They look like little points, and you want to be right there. Now you're ready for your next step. You're going to pick up a super duo color A, and you'll sew through the next 11-0, the one that's sticking on top. And we're going to repeat that step all the way around. So you'll pick up another color A super duo and you'll sew through the 11-0 that is sticking out up top. picking up a color A super duo, sewing through the next 11O that sticks up out and you're going to repeat that step. Pick up your color A super duo, sew through the next top 11O seed bead, and you'll repeat that one more time, picking up a color A super duo and sewing through the next 11O seed bead. So this is what it looks like now. And you'll sew through the next super duo, that first hole, then you're going to step up by sewing through the second hole of that same super duo. Now you'll pick up an 11O seed bead and you'll sew through the second hole of the next super duo. And you'll continue this step all the way around, picking up an 11O seed bead, sewing through the second hole of the next super duo. Picking up an 11O seed bead, sewing through the second hole of the next super duo. And now we're doing this for the last time on this row. Now you'll sew through the next 11O, the next super duo, and the next 11O. And now we're going to repeat our step by picking up 3 11O seed beads, sewing back through the 11O in the ring, going the same direction. Then you'll sew through the super duo and through the next 11O. And you're ready to pick up 3 11O seed beads, Sew through the 11-0 that you just came out of, going in the same direction. Then you'll sew through the next super duo and the next 11-0. You'll pick up 3 seed beads and sew back through the 11-0 that you just came out of. Then you'll sew through the super duo and the next 11-0. Picking up 3 seed beads, sewing through the 11-0 seed bead that you just came out of, going in the same direction. Sew through the super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. Pick up 3 seed beads, sew back through the 11-0 seed bead you came out of, going in the same direction. And then you're going to sew through the next super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. And then you'll need to step up by sewing through the 11-0 seed bead on the side and the next 11-0 at the top. So now you're ready to add on your next row of beads. And I did 3 color A super duos. You'll pick up your color A super duo and then you'll sew through the 11-0 seed bead that is sticking up on the top, and you'll go all the way around, picking up a color A super duo, sewing through the 11-0, and now that you've completed this round, you're going to sew through the next super duo, that first hole, And now you're going to sew through the second hole of that same super duo, so you can step up. And you'll pick up a seed bead, sew through the second hole of the next super duo. You'll repeat this step all the way around the circle, picking up an 11-0 seed bead, sewing through the next super duo, that second hole. Now that you've completed this round, you're going to sew through the 11-0, a super duo, and the next 11-0. Now you'll pick up 3 seed beads and you'll sew back through the seed bead in the circle, going in the same direction. Then you'll sew through your super duo, that second hole, and the next seed bead. Picking up 3 seed beads, sewing back through the seed bead you came out of, going in the same direction. Sew through the super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. Pick up 3 seed beads. Sew back through the seed bead that you came out of, going in the same direction. Then you'll sew through the next super duo and the next seed bead. Picking up 3 seed beads. Sew through the seed bead you came out of, going in the same direction. Sew through the next super duo and the next seed bead. Picking up 3 seed beads. Sew through the seed bead that you just came out of, going in the same direction. Then you'll sew through the next super duo and the next 11-0 seed bead. And now you're going to step up by sewing through the 11-0 seed bead and the next one. You want to get to that top 11-0 seed bead so that you can add your next super duo. And I chose to do 3 color A, and then I'll do 3 color B patterns. So let me show you the color B. So you're going to do the same steps as you did with color A for color B. So you'll do this 3 times, and then you'll just keep repeating the pattern until you reach your desired length. Now that you've completed your first set of color A, you'll start your second set of color B. I did a total of 4 color A's and 4 color B's with a total of 6.5 inches for my bracelet, plus the toggle, which was an inch, so that's 7.5 inches. Now I'll show you how to make your clasp. First, we'll work on the bar part of the clasp. You'll cut a comfortable length of Fireline, and you're going to need a bead to use as a stop bead. Sew through your bead and then sew back through, going the same direction. And you're going to bring that down, leaving a 6-inch tail. Now you'll pick up 20 seed beads. You're going to bring your 20 seed beads down to your bead stop, and you're going to use peyote stitch to make the bar part of your clasp. We've picked up the first 2 rows. Now we'll begin the 3rd row. You'll pick up a bead, you'll skip a bead, and you'll sew through the next seed bead. And the first 2 rows are the most awkward to work with, but after you get the first 2 rows, starting on the 3rd row, it gets a little bit better. So now you're going to pick up a seed bead, and you'll skip a bead, you'll sew through the next seed bead, and you'll have to adjust your beads every once in a while. This 3rd row is awkward. So you're going to pick up a seed bead, skip a bead, and sew through the next bead. Now you'll pick up another bead, you'll skip a bead, and you'll sew through the next bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, sew through the next bead. And now you're ready to pick up another bead, skip a bead, and sew through the next bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, sew through the next bead. And you'll just repeat that step. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, and you'll sew through the next bead. And we're almost done with row 3. You'll pick up a bead and you'll skip a bead and sew through your next bead. And those are your first 3 rows of peyote. You're going to do 10 rows total. Now we'll begin on our 4th row. You're going to pick up a bead and you're going to sew through the next seed bead that sticks out. So this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to pick up a seed bead and you'll sew through the next seed bead that is sticking out. Now you're ready to pick up another seed bead and you'll sew through the next seed bead that sticks out. Now you're ready to pick up another seed bead and you'll sew through the next seed bead that is sticking out. And you'll continue doing this until you reach the end of the row. Picking up the seed bead and sewing through the next bead that is sticking out. And you're going to pick up a bead and sew through the next seed bead that is sticking out. And now it's laying a lot nicer. It's not so awkward to work with. So just pick up a bead and sew through the next bead that is sticking out. And you'll just continue that until you reach the end of the row. So now we've completed row 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to begin our 5th row, pick up a bead, and sew through the next bead that is sticking out. And then you're going to pick up another bead and sew through the next bead that sticks out. Then you'll pick up another bead, sew through the next bead, and then you pick up another bead and sew through your next bead, always going through the one that's sticking out. And picking up a bead, sewing through the next seed bead that is sticking out. Picking up a bead, sewing through the next bead. And we're almost at the end of this row. Picking up a bead, sewing through the next bead that is sticking out. Now we'll pick up our last bead for this row. And now we're ready to start our 6th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be the beginning of our 6th row. Picking up a seed bead and sewing through the next bead that is sticking out. Picking up a bead, sewing through the next seed bead that sticks out. And we're almost done with this row. Picking up a bead and sewing through the next bead that sticks out. And this is our last bead for this row. Sew through the bead that sticks out. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. And we're going to continue with row 7. You're going to have a total of 10 rows. So now that you've completed your 10 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to make this into a bar, and we're going to gently fold it. And what you'll do is you'll sew up the side by going through every other seed bead. So now we'll go over to the other side, sew through that seed bead, and you want to go through the seed beads that are sticking out. And so it's just zigzagging back and forth through your seed beads that stick out. And I'm doing 2 at a time. You can do 1 at a time or 2 at a time if you like. And I just go through both seed beads that are sticking out. Gently pulling my thread to tighten them up so you can't see my thread. And we're almost at the end, so we're just going to sew through our last seed bead. And now we've sewn it together, and you can't even see the thread. So I like to sew back down through the first seed bead so I can make sure they're nice and close together. And then back up through the other side. And I usually put in a knot so they stay nice and securely together. Just sew up under your thread, sew through your loop. And now you've got a knot. So that's what your bar looks like. Now I'll show you how to add the crystals onto your bar. You're going to pick up a crystal and a seed bead. You're going to use your seed bead as a stop bead. And then you're going to sew back through your crystal. And now you're going to sew down through your tube, and you'll come out the other end. And you're going to do the same thing on the other end. You're going to pick up your crystal, pick up a seed bead, use a seed bead as a stop bead, sew back down through the crystal, and you're going to come out in the center of your bar. And you might need to tighten up your beads just a little bit. You're just going to pull your thread. And there is the bar part of your toggle. Now we're going to make the circle part of your toggle. You're going to cut a comfortable length of Fireline, and you're going to pick up 11 super duos and 11 11-0 seed beads in an alternating pattern. And to make a circle, we're just going to tie a double knot, and you can just leave a 3 to 4 inch tail. And I like to reinforce by sewing back through all my beads. And once you've sewn through all your beads, you're going to go past your knot, and you'll sew through a super duo, a seed bead, and the next super duo. We want to get away from our knot. Now you're going to go up to the second hole of the super duo, sew through that, and now we're going to go all the way around with our 3mm crystals in between each super duo. Sew through the second hole of the next super duo. Pick up your 3mm crystal, and sew through the second hole of the next super duo in your circle. We're just going to do this all the way around, picking up a 3mm crystal, sewing through the second hole of the next super duo. So now that you've gone all the way around the circle, adding a 3mm crystal in between each super duo, you're going to sew through the next 3mm crystal, and you're going to pick up a 3mm crystal, a seed bead, and a 3mm crystal. Skip over your super duo and sew through the next 3mm crystal. Now you'll pick up a 3mm crystal, a seed bead, and a 3mm crystal. You'll skip over the next super duo and you'll sew through the next 3mm crystal. Picking up a 3mm crystal, a seed bead, and a 3mm crystal, skipping over the super duo and sewing through the next 3mm crystal in the ring. And you'll continue to do this all the way around your circle. Once you're done embellishing the circle with crystals and seed beads, you're going to need to tie a double knot. I like to sew down a little past my ending point. And now we'll put in a knot. You're going to sew up under your thread, make a loop, sew through your loop, now you're going to repeat that step, sew under your thread, and sew through your loop. Now you'll sew down through some of your beads to get away from your knot. And you'll put another knot in by sewing up under your thread, sewing through your loop, and you've placed another knot. Now you're going to sew down through some of your beads, away from your knot. Now you're ready to cut the excess thread off of your circle. And now you're going to have to deal with the tail. You're going to put on your needle. And I like to put a double knot in there just to hold it in. Sew up underneath your thread. Sew through your loop. And you'll repeat that step. You'll sew up underneath your thread. Sew through your loop. Now you'll sew down through some of your beads to get away from your knot. Then you'll put in one more knot by sewing up under your thread, through your loop, and now you want to sew down through some of your beads to get away from your knot. And you're ready to cut off your excess thread. And that completes your circle. Now we'll attach our ring to our bracelet. You're going to take your tail and you're going to pick up 18 seed beads. Bring those down to your bracelet, and you're just going to go through your circle. And bring the seed beads up through the circle. And then you're going to sew through a seed bead and a super duo on the end of the bracelet. Now you're going to reinforce that a few times by sewing back through all the seed beads and the super duo at the end of the bracelet. This will make sure that your clasp is nice and secure. And I like to reinforce at least 3 times. Now you're going to turn your bracelet over a little bit and sew down through some of your beads at the end of the bracelet. And you want to be halfway around so that you can put another strand of seed beads on the circle so that it stays secure. So you'll sew through a seed bead, a super duo, a seed bead, a super duo, and a seed bead. And now you'll pick up 18 seed beads. Now that you've picked up your 18 seed beads, you're going to bring those down to your bracelet, and then you're going to attach the other side by sewing through the end of your bracelet. Sew through the seed bead, super duo, and seed bead. And you'll want to reinforce this at least 3 times by sewing through your seed beads that you've just added. After you've reinforced, you're going to sew down through your bracelet a little bit so you'll get away from your toggle. Now you can put in your double knot, sewing up underneath your thread, sewing through the loop. You're going to repeat that step, sew up under your thread, sew through your loop, then you're going to sew down away from your knot, and you'll put in another knot by sewing up under your threads, sewing through your loop. Now you'll sew down through some of your beads so that you're away from your knot, and you're ready to cut off the excess thread. Now I'll show you how to attach your bar to your bracelet. You're going to pick up 8 seed beads, and you'll take your bar and you're going to count to the 10th row, and that will be your center. So you'll sew through that bead, and I like to sew through one more bead, the bead right next to it, just so that it gives it something else to hang on to. Now you'll pick up 8 more seed beads, bring those down, and you're going to go to your bracelet and go directly across from where you started to add your bar to that bead. You'll sew through the bead on your bracelet. And now that you've got your bar attached, you're going to want to reinforce it at least 3 times. And what you'll need to do is sew back around to the beads that are attaching the bar to your bracelet. Now that you've gotten all the way around, you'll just go back up through your seed beads, following the same path, and you'll come out and you'll go back through, and you'll do that 3 times to reinforce. After you're done reinforcing, you're going to sew down through some of your beads to get away from your toggle. Don't want to put a knot right there. And after you sew down away from your toggle, you're going to put in a double knot by sewing up under your thread. And then you'll sew through your loop. And that's your first knot. We're going to do another knot. Sew up under your thread. Sew through your loop. And that's your double knot. Now you'll sew away from your knot. Sew down through some of your seed beads. And then you'll put in another knot. Sew up under your thread, through your loop, and now you have placed your single knot. You'll sew down through some of your beads to get away from that knot. And now you can cut off your excess thread. And now you've got your tail, which you're going to feed through, double knot, feed through, single knot, feed through, and cut off. Sometimes you have to smash the end of your thread with your pliers so it's easier to get it on your needle. So now you can get rid of your tail by sewing down through some of your beads. And we're going to put in a double knot, sewing up under your thread through your loop. Repeat that step, sew up under your thread, through your loop. Now you're going to sew down through some more of your beads to get away from your knot. And you'll place a single knot by sewing up under your thread. So through your loop, and there's your single knot. Now you'll sew through some of your beads away from your knot. And now you can cut off your tail. And this completes Enchanting Amethyst. Now I'll show you how to add thread. You've got your project thread. You'll need to cut another piece of Fireline, and you'll bring your two threads together and you'll make a loop. You'll bring both pieces through the loop, making a knot. You'll separate your thread. Then you'll need to use 2 pairs of pliers so you can grasp your thread securely. And you'll bring your knot down to your project. Now you've got 2 tails and your additional thread. You're going to take your tail and going to put a needle on. And you'll sew down through some of your beads away from your knot. Now you're going to put in another knot, sewing up under your thread. Making a loop, sewing through the loop, and you've got another knot. So you want to sew down through some of your beads away from your knot. Now you can cut off your tail. And you're going to do the same with your other tail. Feed it through, put a knot, feed it through, and then cut it off, and now you have a new piece of thread.